The other key news today involves CM Punk, who has suffered a torn right triceps, and he is going to be out for a long time. It looks like surgery will be required. This is going to be the second time he has torn his triceps, but this is the different arm than the one that he tore in the Jon Moxley match at All Out a couple of years ago. This happened in the Royal Rumble. Many people were noting that after the Future Shock DDT that he was favoring the arm and apparently rolled to one of the referees to communicate. And yeah, this was sort of being speculated upon. And then today it was first reported by Dave Meltzer that he had a significant injury sustained at the Rumble. People were speculating it was the triceps. And then Mike Johnson confirmed it was the triceps. And it's, he's going to need surgery and made it pretty clear here. This is not going to be, this was not the Seth Rollins speech from last week that he was going to hint that he wouldn't make it to Mania. No, he is not going to make it to WrestleMania. And this is awful. It's just an awful injury at an awful time. And I just, this guy has had just the roughest of luck when it comes to injuries over the last 2 years, when it comes to the broken foot, 2 torn triceps. And from a mental standpoint, to be facing another, it took him 9 months last time to come back from the torn triceps. And, he is, he's 45 years old, and dude, rehab sucks. And he's going through it all over again. I just think it's just terrible for him, who was just on this roll since coming back to the company.
Totally. Yeah. So injuries are never a good thing in pro wrestling, but when you're a beloved babyface, I think they're at least salvageable, and I think much like Rollins last week, maybe much like Cody from 2 years ago, you can make something out of a bad situation. And I think that's what Punk did tonight. We'll cover perhaps, the promo later on, but he, to me, was able to cut an excellent promo about his comeback. And I thought it ended up successfully sort of chaptering this first run of his WWE comeback as one where he's a very solid babyface. I think he earned enough sort of clout with the office and with the audience to set himself up for a major comeback, like a WrestleMania main event level comeback.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, if we're looking at in the ballpark of 9 months, I mean, he'll be 46 in October. So this is, at that point, it does become that question of how hard you can go with him in that top high of a role coming back.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the other maybe talking point coming out of this injury, right? I mean, I don't think it's sort of rude to suggest that this man might be injury prone. At this point, I mean, he's gone through several tough matches throughout his AEW run, escaping injury. I suppose it's probably not a great look for maybe people who might be suggesting that Punk is injury prone to have him actually be injured the first match. Granted, it was a very long match, and he had to do a whole lot. But still, is he a guy you could depend on, for a major title run? I would suggest that I don't think it matters because he's so over, and you can craft any sort of run you want out of a CM Punk as long as you can build to those major title matches, which I think the crowds are still very interested in seeing. But it does maybe, put into question his perhaps, longevity, doing this at a full-time basis.
We'll get into more of this during the Raw review, because that was the major news coming out of the show. CM Punk comes out, arm is in a sling, and he looks at that WrestleMania sign, and he felt he had it. It was in the palm of his hand. He's not mad that he lost on Saturday, and congratulates Cody Rhodes, says he's earned this, hopes he wins at WrestleMania. He doesn't believe in luck, but I do feel a bit unlucky. He tore his triceps, thought maybe he could tape it up and work through it, but that's not in the cards. Maybe headlining WrestleMania won't ever happen. But then he mentions his friend Chad Gilbert, who has cancer, and he spends time with him, and he's always in a good mood, and that's a real fight. This is a flesh wound. And he says...
Chad Gilbert, guitarist of New Found Glory.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
did not recognize the name, but I know New Found Glory.
That's a note from Jordan Goodman. He'll want credit for that one.
Wow, that's very. I thought that would just be off the top of your head, Way.
No, It's not.
Says he loses more often than he wins. Did you see me fight in the UFC? I had a dream and I was given an opportunity and I said yes because it scared the crap out of me. Just like coming back here after 10 years scared me. Back to a place I never wanted to leave, but I had to. WrestleMania scares me and it might haunt me for the rest of my life. But being the best in the world, that's for people who fight cancer, put their lives on the line. I promise to keep doing this until the wheels fall off because you people seem to like me. I've overcome adversity, but I don't focus on the negative and those who told me no. WrestleMania 40 isn't in the cards, but I'm a Cubs fan, so it's not the first time I've said there's always next year. This is when Drew McIntyre interrupted this interview, this promo, whatever you want to call it. It was amazing. Like it was so like this guy when he is in his zone. I think there are few at this level. And this is in a company now where you have many great talkers. And he was, I mean, it was just, it was real. It was a real emotion that you had from him. How often do you ever hear him refer to the UFC and his tenure there? Like that is, it's been a heel line a few times in AEW, but himself, I mean, that has been something like he just never touches on. And just like a really great, like, explanation. Like here,
he used it to babyface himself. You know, he used his terrible UFC run that people have made fun of him for to babyface himself, which is amazing. I think again, this is Punk and the WWE making the best out of a bad situation, but it required an excellent promo from CM Punk in order to accomplish it. And this was an excellent babyface promo. We have been critical of I think CM Punk in the first several appearances he's had in this WWE comeback. This is Punk back at his best, you know, and unfortunately he's just leaving right now, but he's shown that he still very much has, you know, that top level, top shelf promo within him. And it was a great babyface promo for all the criticisms I might have had about maybe authenticity to his voice. This was as purely babyface as you could get. This was like a very good runner-up speech for maybe somebody who's lost like a primary election, giving his endorsement to Cody, you know, very classy, respectable sort of dismount from the race. He, you know, threw in a little bit of flattery of the Tampa Bay Lightning in there as well, just to kind of maybe sweeten this crowd up a little bit more, a little bit of self-deprecation about his UFC run. And then of course, a very touching personal story about his personal friend who's, you know, who is fighting a very, very real heroic battle right now. I thought it was just a textbook sort of excellent promo from a babyface CM Punk that sets him up for a huge comeback. Like this to me feels, at this point at least, a lot can happen between now and next year. But if Cody's going to finish his story this year, this is the story for the year after WrestleMania 41. CM Punk finally getting his main event.
Well, I mean, there's always the comeback, but man, it's I can't believe like to be in this position where, I mean, look at the like we were gushing last week over this segment with Cody Rhodes. It's like you had just set the table for all this stuff. It was, you know, it's like time is not on his side for like career wise, and you just have to be so frustrated that you could be looking at potentially another like best case scenario. Like it's probably 6 months. So anyway, Drew McIntyre interrupts, says, I do think you're poison, but you know, Punk, I can relate to you. You know, it was a while back. I lost my job and I had to reassess my career and face adversity. And I'm really not that spiritual of a person, but I prayed for this and it happened. I came into the Royal Rumble. I targeted you, Punk, and I violently assaulted you. And when you eliminated me, I couldn't sleep that night after the Royal Rumble. But then when I heard the next day about your injury, I had exorcised the demon, CM Punk, and I slept wonderfully last night. Now I'll find a way to WrestleMania and I'll live your dream again. Dude, Drew McIntyre was amazing on this entire show. He's been amazing pretty much every week, but to me, he has reached another level. Like if there is someone that it's unfortunate about this injury that is so obvious the guy to step into this role as the lead heel on this brand to go into WrestleMania, this man has talked his way into this spot and he was tremendous here.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of like rumors out there about the state of his contract, whether or not he's currently signed one, whether or not he'll stick around after WrestleMania. But man, like this felt like, this entire Drew McIntyre heel run has felt like maybe an extended sort of negotiation tactic and a campaign for him to get the biggest check he possibly could, because the man has been just on fire, for several months now, and he's heading towards WrestleMania and finds himself in a position where he's probably more valuable than he's ever been. And yeah, like you said, if Punk can't have that Rollins match, I think Drew is a perfect replacement. We will talk about other options that they might be presenting in that spot as well. Punk's injury certainly hurts a lot, but it doesn't cripple WrestleMania. Not at a time when this roster is as deep and as impressive as it's been in years. And Drew McIntyre is one of those standout guys. So, yeah,
they've got a lot going for them. But this hurts. I think this does hurt.
Hurts, definitely. Yes.
Like that's a big name to lose for Mania season for this year in particular. Punk just explains, my heart hurts more than my triceps. I'll headline WrestleMania next year, but when I come back, you're first on my checklist. I'm coming for you. And they get into a brawl, and Drew stomps his arm when Sami Zayn runs down to attack Drew and clear the ring and then help CM Punk to his feet. And that was the end of CM Punk for the foreseeable future.
It sets up your return program for him. I mean, maybe by some indication, this might have been something they were going to for either Elimination Chamber or something, who knows? But now it's going to be delayed, unfortunately, but hopefully it'll feel big or bigger by the time it happens.
I thought I thought it was a tremendous segment for what they had and what they got out of it, and something for Drew as well coming out of it, where I think you do have like people were just so like engrossed with CM Punk's speech, and then he comes out and it was like one of those heel interruptions that I think really did benefit the heel in this scenario.
Does it give you any indication about what you might sort of I don't know. Does it give you any maybe more hope that, or at least does it suggest that Drew McIntyre has re-signed? Basically, is what I'm trying to say. The fact that they're already building to the CM Punk match.
Okay, if he's not, we are not moving forward one more. Like I wouldn't be doing this angle until I have this guy on paper. I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff when it comes. Like, I mean, it's not the equivalent, but. And it's a totally different company with New Japan. But what they did with Jonah, with Bronson Reed through the G1, and then building him up, he's the guy to beat Okada in the G1, and then find out he's not under contract, and WWE just scoops him up. I was like, how did you not have this set up when you were booking and executing all of this? I would say at this point, I mean, they have not gone so far with Drew that this would be, for him, I would, he's in a tremendous position to command a great amount to stick around, and his value just shot up. It's a sad part of any industry, but his value jumped that much more over the past 48 hours.
Maybe we'll get that Bronson Reed Okada payoff.
Well,
somewhere else.